Colts Nation, what do you think right here of the Halloween costume, huh? I'm going to give you a moment to guess what it might be before I reveal the surprise. We'll give you 3, 2, 1. Did you figure it out yet? Huh? This right here is Tony Brown walking the streets of Indianapolis after that horrific performance that he just put on. And when I take this off and put it on the floor and put garbage in it, then that will also be Tony Brown because he played like absolute trash. And I don't want to come down too hard on Tony Brown because, quite frankly, I feel bad for him. There's no one more upset about the performance that he just put on than he is. As much as us as fans are upset, he has to be even more upset. And those of you who have stuck around for this channel for quite some time have probably heard me say on a number of occasions that when it comes to how I analyze and view the game of football, I am much more of an eye test guy, just watch it, than I am a stats guy. Now, if the stats support what I see with my eyes, great. If the stats don't support it, then I guess the stats must be wrong, right? And when it comes to cornerbacks in the NFL, the eye test goes as followed. If I see you on my screen often, it's very, very likely that you're playing like shit. And that is exactly what we just saw. If I'm seeing you, it means they must be completing passes on you. If I'm not seeing you, it must mean you're covering good enough, right? And Tony Brown clearly was not covering good enough. The man pulled the old Amber Heard, right? He shit the bed. You got Johnny Depp looking at Tony Brown saying, "Dog, what are you doing? Give me a break. I'm trying to go to sleep." I mean, it was that bad of a performance. And what did I say coming into the game? I said, hey, everyone's calling for Gus Bradley to dial up that blitz. And I said, that sounds all fine and dandy. I know we want to be aggressive, but hold on now. If you're going to blitz, the trade-off is that you have corners on an island by themselves, and you have to have guys out there that can cover. And you blitz, and sure enough, you leave Tony Brown in one-on-one coverage with Raheem Shaheed, who literally had like 3 receptions for $150. I mean, 50 yards of reception. Do you think that's all right? And you leave him in single coverage, and he blows the roof off of the place. I mean, I could have seen that coming from a mile away, which, by the way, is less space than Tony Brown gave to him. I mean, Raheem Shaheed was like 2 miles ahead of him on that one. I mean, it was absolutely horrific. And this game, in my opinion, solidified where the Colts stand as currently constructed, more so than any other game. But realistically, what is it that you can expect from this team at this point, right? I mean, how many losses can they possibly endure? And I'm not talking about losses on the win and loss column. I'm talking about losing players. Now, I know everybody is dealing with injuries, but just speaking to the Colts specifically, you're talking about you don't have Anthony Richardson. You Grover Stewart, not an injury, but he was taking some PEDs, right? And his performance was doing very well. So I suppose something must have been enhancing it, I guess. Whatever, that's fine. Until it's not, because we don't have him on the field, right? And then the secondary, which is just god-awful right now. But what are you supposed to do? I mean, Stephon Gilmore, you let go in the offseason, which I thought at the time, and I still, stand by. I thought that was like a fair move. If he wants to go and we're in a rebuild at the stage in his career that he's at, that's just good business, right? But Dallas Flowers, torn Achilles, Isaiah Rodgers betting the other team's money line, Juju Brent's out for however long he's going to be out. I mean, how many guys can you possibly lose in the secondary when this was already a secondary that was considered to be questionable coming into the season? And if you're Chris Ballard, you have to do something. I mean, Darrell Baker Jr. was one thing. We all wanted him off the field. Guys, be careful what you wish for, because there's Tony Brown to the rescue. I mean, which one would you rather have? Pick your poison. There are 31 other teams in the NFL with practice squads and all. I would find it hard to believe that there isn't a player on a practice squad somewhere that couldn't come in and play better than that. I mean, that was horrific. What are you supposed to do about that? And it's, I don't want to just turn this into a Tony Brown hate episode, but I mean, it's just hard to watch, right? Realistically, when you look at the Colts all around, particularly offensively, they're really playing quite a bit better than they should be, given kind of all of the things that they're going through, right? You had the Jonathan Taylor stuff at the beginning of the season. the way Zach Moss was able to come in. I mean, they've been able to overcome a lot of adversity, but at a certain point, there's just only so much you can do. I don't even know the saying. I'm trying to be clever. There's nothing clever about it. We just don't have enough right now, quite frankly. And we could talk about the game. We will talk about the game. I have some gripes. I have some positive takeaways. We're going to talk about them in some sort of organized fashion. And I guess I'll just start spouting them off, right? But before I do that, all of you that have been here before know I have to introduce myself to the new people. My name is Justin. This right here is the Ride the Bench Colts cast. As always, if you are enjoying the video, go ahead and shoot it a like. It's going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as humanly possible. If you want to stick around for the journey, you can subscribe as well. We're trying to get up to 2,000. We'll get there eventually, but if you're a returning listener, maybe now is the day. If not, maybe tomorrow is the day. Who knows? One day you're going to subscribe. You might as well do it right now, right? But most importantly, let's just enjoy the episode here and get on with our Monday, right? So I'm going to start with a gripe that has nothing to do with Tony Brown, considering I just spent the last 5 minutes talking about him, right? Let's try to calm ourselves down a little bit and let that man breathe a little bit, because not for anything, it's about to be a tough week for Tony Brown. He's going to have to explain to his girlfriend potentially why he's out of a job, most likely, and I'm not rooting for him to lose his job. I don't take pride in that. I mean, you got to come out. All right, moving on. The Colts ran the ball in this game 23 times for over 160 yards. 6.8 yards per carry. This is not the first time I'm asking this question. Why exactly do they get away from the run in these games? I mean, Jonathan Taylor had what, like 5 carries for 70 some odd yards in the first drive? I mean, that was vintage JT. That was the JT of 20. That was MVP Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it was electrifying to watch that. I mean, I was giddy in my seat, and I felt it was the first drive. And after that, it was absolutely nothing. Did I miss something? Did he get hurt? Did we just forget he was on the roster? Did he have to take a poop? I mean, what happened exactly? I don't know why he only got another 15 to 20 yards after that first drive. I mean, and that's really my only big gripe offensively. When you look at the fact that the defense was absolutely putrid in this game, it's kind of hard to be too mad at the offense, particularly knowing where it was last year versus where it is this year. There's no doubt that Shane Steichen is the guy, but again, you're operating with a backup quarterback, and you're the only team in the NFL to have dropped 20 points in every game. I mean, when you drop 27 and you lose by double-digit points, you know, what else can you possibly want from the team, right? What else can you possibly want from this offense? At some point, the defense is going to have to stop people from scoring. I understand there's moments throughout the season where I thought the offense was putting them in like bad positions in terms of turnovers, field position, et cetera, et cetera. Today was not one of those days. Tony Brown, I'm going to stop saying Tony Brown's name. I'm sorry. I think he's dealing with enough is my point. Fucking Tony Brown. So defensively, I'll stay on the topic here, I suppose. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now. This game was one that was just very, very, I don't know. This was a bullshit game. Not literally. The Saints won legitimately, but it was a bullshit game in the sense that it just stinks to be a Colts fan right now, okay? Defensively, here's my question. Is this a coaching issue with Gus Bradley, or is this a personnel issue? That's my question. Because Ballard, in my opinion, had a great offseason, but he did Gus Bradley absolutely no favors at corner, right? And if I'm to be honest, I can admit to all of you that despite the fact that I am a Colts genius and I know everything about this team, I've never been wrong about anything I've ever said about the Indianapolis Colts. Despite the fact that that's true, I don't quite know enough about what I'm looking at to give you a short answer as to whether or not it's personnel or coaching. I'm kind of inclined to say personnel, particularly when it really feels like what we're seeing is more so of a secondary issue than it is an entire defensive issue. I really think the defensive line puts out good output on most days. I mean, today was 1 sack, but they're top 10 in sacks on the season. Can't ask for much more than that. The linebacker core is good, despite the fact that Shaq Leonard isn't quite what he used to be. Hopefully he comes into form. It really just feels like an issue with the fact that we haven't had a guy that we not only have we not had a guy we could trust outside at corner, we haven't had a guy that belongs on an NFL football field playing corner on the outside essentially since well, I guess Juju Brents was in there, right? But if it's not Juju Brents and it's not Jalen Jones, the 7th round pick, if it's not one of them, then you have absolute practice squad worthy guys out there. And I want to refrain from calling them bums, but some may call them bums that we have out there at corner. And Chris Ballard, you got to do something. I'm as much of a Chris Ballard supporter as anyone. You cannot continue the season with the guys that we have playing outside at corner. You got to do something. You got to bring someone in. I don't care who it is, but do something, Chris. Anything other than just sit there. I mean, we can't continue to watch Tony Browns and Darrell Baker Jr.'s out there, the poor bastards. I mean, I feel bad for them, but they can't play, at least as it pertains to being starters in the NFL at this juncture in the season, in this juncture in their careers. They just don't have it. So, that's kind of where I'm at there. So, again, other than that, positive takeaway is receivers doing well. Another pretty solid day for just about all of them. Josh Downs. Oh, I'm going to talk about Josh Downs again this week. I am so excited about how good can Josh Downs be, right? I think that's an awesome question. That's a topic for later this week. Alec Pierce, other than the one where he kind of slowed up on that drag, I thought for the most part, Alec Pierce has really been doing his part. He looks really sure-handed. All the talk about him dropping all these passes, and justifiably in the preseason, Alec Pierce really locked in when the regular season came in. Everyone talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., not saying Alec Pierce is him, but Alec Pierce is the dude, and I don't want to just write him off just yet. I think the receivers are doing well all around. It's an underrated group. And Gardner Minshew, what else can you expect from him? Listen, he didn't have all of the fumbles on the sacks today. There was the one that was almost called a fumble. That was clearly an incomplete pass, so no harm, no foul on that one. Gardner Minshew is who he is. He's going to have his great plays. He's going to have his not so great plays. But as far as backup quarterbacks go, he's definitely a playmaker and definitely a guy that could, do some stuff for you. That throw to Ogletree practically gave me a heart attack, but he ended up threading the needle and got that one in there. And listen, you can say a lot of things about the Colts this year, not all of them positive. One thing you cannot say is that the games have not been exciting. Now, do we end up on the wrong side of them more often than not? So it seems, because we're 3-5. Mathematically, that's how it goes. Not that I'm a mathematic, but that is what it is, right? So that is basically my reaction to the game. I don't have much else to say. I'll definitely be out with another episode in the next couple days. Don't want to give a hard date because I don't want to let anyone down, right? But it's coming. I'll have another episode. Definitely want to talk a little bit more about Josh Downs this week. Maybe we'll revisit Gus Bradley. I don't know. I have to look into what we want to talk about. But Josh Downs, for sure, is someone that we have to talk about a little bit more because, my Lord, right? I mean, the kid's good. So until next time, my name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts cast. And for fuck's sake, go Colts.